You're listening to Little Green Cheese, episode 98. Well, welcome back, Curd Nerds. I'm Gavin Weber, and this podcast is where you can learn about cheese making at home. It's been a long time in between episodes, about a year, maybe a little bit more, but that's okay. These sorts of things are absolutely fine. Now, the subject that I wanted to talk about today is YouTube cheese making channels. Now, specifically, cheese making channels that absolutely dedicate themselves to just making cheese. So there are lots of YouTube channels out there that do homesteading and other sorts of stuff, but what I'm exclusively looking at are YouTube channels that are just for cheese making. So that has discounted some of the channels that I do watch, but I chose today exclusive cheese making channels. So we're going to be talking about the not the quality of videos, but the range, what you'll get out of the channel, what I like about the channel in particular, and the niche that it serves within the cheese making community. So let's have a look at the first one. First one's mine, of course. This is Gavin Weber, or cheeseman.tv. That'll take you to the channel as well. So this one, as I said, is mine. I've been doing it since, let's have a look at the About tab. It has, I first joined YouTube in the 26th of February 2009, and I think I produced my first video in 2010. So I've been doing cheese making videos since 2010. And there's a whole range of videos there. I won't go into why I like mine. Obviously, I enjoy making the cheese making video tutorials, but it's all very good fun. Now, what I will do is leave the links to each of the channels that I describe in the show notes for the audio-only version. So that's Gavin Weber. Another good one is, and these are in no specific order, is cheeseneeds.com. So this is run by Tracy Johnson out of Prince George in British Columbia. And Tracy runs a cheese-making shop just like I do. And essentially, she does lots of short videos, and she does videos about, you know, different cheese makings, different types of cheese. She actually has a really an amazing cheese, and she does a lot of interviews, but one of her most amazing cheeses is a style called Yesterday's that she came up with herself, which is really cool. So yeah, so that's Tracy's channel, cheeseneeds.com, and you can go and check that out and have a look at the link. Great cheese channel. The next one is in French. This one's Chez Fred, or Shays Fred. He is a Canadian cheesemaker, and you can see there that Fred looks like quite a character. Everything's in French. So what I do when I watch his videos is I basically turn the English translation on. There is an auto translation, so it's very cool feature in YouTube. So it's called, officially it's called Chez Fred Fromagia Urbaine, which I think means Chez Fred Home Cheesemaker. And I will put a link to that in the show notes. So if you are multilingual and can speak French as well, or just want to see Fred's videos and translate them to English using the captions, the, what's it called? Closed captions, then yeah, go and check that out. He's got some great stuff. Yeah, very entertaining Fred is. There's an interview with Fred on this channel. He speaks English as well. So on this channel, on the podcast, you can go and have a listen to Fred as well. Now, another very interesting channel is from New Zealand, and this is called Cheese History, and this is by a lady called Julia, and Julia does all the things about the history of cheese. She's got 41 videos under her belt, and they are meticulously researched, so really good cheese making videos where she explains the history, where a cheese came from. And some of her recent ones, history of Gouda, or Gouda, early history of cheddar, history of industrial cheddar, and history of Parmesan was a great video as well. So there's some fantastic videos that she's made, and they're all very well researched. And in the description of the videos, she also puts all of her references. So I believe Julia's an academic, so she's very meticulous when it comes to putting the references from her videos. Another one is Cheese 52. This is by Lisa. She's out of the US, I'm not sure where. But Lisa has been doing cheese making videos since 2018. She joined YouTube. And she has quite a few videos under her belt, some unique cheeses, some easy to access, and her recipes are interspaced with her cat. She makes cheese with her cat. The cat's not always in it. The cat's called Yum Yum, if I remember rightly. Hope I got that right, Lisa. And yeah, and she's got some fantastic cheese making videos, all the standards that you would expect. So yeah, she's got 38 videos on her channel, and they're all pure cheese making videos. So worth a look. Go and check out Cheese 52. So the next one is by Mary Ann, and this channel is called Give Cheese a Chance. Mary Ann's got 31 cheese making videos, and they have some unique, she has some unique cheeses that I've never seen before. The one I watched recently was Akawi, which is a Middle Eastern cheese. She's got videos on how to make calcium chloride. She's got Belpa cannoli and some other stuff. She's also got some interviews with cheese-making authors and cheesemakers as well, which is all very interesting. So go and check out Mary Ann over on Give Cheese a Chance. Last but not least, Jennifer Murch. We've interviewed Jennifer on the channel. She started her channel in 2022, so she's a newcomer. She's got 64 videos on the channel, and she does a lot of natural rind sort of cheeses. She has her own animals and uses a lot of raw milk. So if you're into raw milk and natural rinds, that sort of stuff, go and check out Jennifer. So her channel's called Jennifer Murch. So I will leave a link to that in the description below. So they are some of my favorite cheese making channels. They are, like I said, they're specifically purely just for cheese, and like I said, there are so many more others out there that do have cheese making recipes, but they're not specific to the art of cheese making. So that is a brief look at some of the YouTube channels that I subscribe to, including my own, of course. Yeah, I'll let you go and have a watch of those in your own time when you got some time to check them out on your mobile device or on your desktop. So what I'm going to do now is I've got some questions lined up, and these are from people who have sent me voicemails. So I've managed to capture those. And what we're going to do is we're going to play the question similar to the old format of the show, and I'm going to answer the questions on the fly. So here's the first question, so let's play that one.
Gavin, can you tell me where you purchased your brining pot with the spacer that holds the cheese down? I would like to know where to buy that. I've looked over the internet and I'm seeing gigantic briners, big 6-gallon briners, but I don't see the one your size. Somehow I'd like to have you place on some social media site or in one of your videos something that would tell me where to purchase the briner. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Don. Appreciate the question. Now, the brining box that I use in all of my YouTube videos is it's a microwave rice cooker, and actually it's two different types of microwave rice cooker. It's made by Decor Australia. I don't think you can get it anymore anyway. So, and the little white plate that you see me push the cheese down with is actually from a different container. So it was cost prohibitive to buy both and just make one thing out of it. So the thing with brining cheese, you don't need anything fancy. I just use that one. It's just convenient, that's all. You can just use any plastic tub, put your brine in it. The brine should be saturated enough at 18% that the cheese will float anyway. And you will see a little bit of the cheese, the surface of the cheese, protrude on top. Now, normal cheesemakers, commercial or artisan like us, or home cheesemakers, all you do is sprinkle a little layer of salt on the top of that, and you'll get salt absorption all the way around. And then at halfway through the brining time, all you do is flip the cheese over. You don't need to keep it submerged the whole time like mine one does. So you don't have to use a plastic tub. You can use a stainless steel pot. At a pinch, you could use an enamel pot. But yeah, just make sure that your brine's nice and clean. And if you have any funky smells coming off it, then it's probably best to make a new batch. So normally I pasteurize my brine before I use it and then let it cool back down to room temperature. And then when I do the brining, when the cheese is in the brine, I put it back into the cheese fridge so it stays at about 13 degrees Celsius. That's where you get the best salt absorption, which funnily enough is the temperature that most cheeses like to mature at anyway. Just to finish off Don's question, you don't need anything special. Just follow my recommendations there and I don't think you'll have any trouble. Okay, on to the next question.
Hello, Mr. Weber. My name is Douglas Spratt, and I'm from the Vancouver area in British Columbia, Canada. And I have a question regarding waxing and the equipment needed for that. In your book, you mention about the need for an approximately 1 liter stainless steel pot. And it doesn't give any reference to being a double boiler, but when I had a look at your wax dipping video, I noticed that you had mentioned about using a double boiler. Could you please tell me how much you think this matters? In other words, how important is the temperature control? You note that the temperature should be close to 90 degrees Celsius. I know in cheese making the temperature is critical. Is this something you've found or heard that most people can do without a double boiler on a gas stove with a regular dial? And I'm assuming that one would use a candy thermometer to check the temperature. Thanks very much for what assistance you can offer. Kind regards. Bye-bye.
Well, thanks, Douglas. Appreciate the question. The wax setup. So it is better to use a double boiler. So just get any stainless steel bowl that's going to fit over a 4 litre or 1 gallon saucepan. Okay, and put your wax into the stainless steel bowl above, so some steam will be created on the bottom of the bowl. That way you will also know that the temperature of the wax will not go over 100 degrees Celsius or 212 Fahrenheit. One of the things I've seen in a few cheese making videos where people just decide to make cheese and they apply the wax, they're directly heating the wax and it's smoking and it's crackling and popping. That's actually dangerous. It's very dangerous because the wax could reach its flash point and catch on fire. So I absolutely prefer to use a double boiler method by having the wax pot, the wax in a stainless steel pot or bowl sitting on top of a pan of water. And that way you know you're never going to really exceed about 90-95 degrees Celsius for your wax. The reason we're heating it up that high is because we want to kill any pathogens that may be in the wax. These can occur because if you do reuse your wax and wash the wax after you pull it off the cheese and wash it in hot soapy water, you'll get most of the cheesy residue off. However, by heating it up to the 90 to 95 degrees Celsius, you know that all of those pathogens are going to be killed off before it gets put onto your cheese for a second or third or even, fourth time. Certainly reusing the wax. Just one thing when waxing your cheese, you can mix colours, that's no big deal. You'll get some funky colours. I got yellow wax, red, black wax in my cheese cupboard. I tend to stick to the red because that's what I've got in my melting pot. But there's even a natural coloured one that doesn't have any dye in it. You can get all of those at good cheese making shops. But the essential thing is that the wax is all melted. I just use a dairy thermometer to check the temperature because dairy thermometers go up to 100 degrees Celsius or 212 Fahrenheit. You don't need a candy thermometer because you're not going to go past those temperatures. One last tip for waxing your cheese is that pop your cheese that you're going to wax into the freezer for 30 minutes. And this will cool down the surface of the cheese. And then when you dip it into the wax will instantly go hard on the surface of the cheese. And it makes it a lot easier to handle that waxed part if you're going to turn it and then dip it into the wax pot again. It also helps a heck of a lot if you're only, say, brushing the liquid wax onto the cheese. Just make sure you've got some baking paper or some butcher's paper down on your bench top because it does get a little bit messy if you're brushing the wax on. So Douglas, hope that answers your question. Okay, on to question number 3.
Hello, Gavin. It's Ruth Beardsley here. I'd like to support you, but I found out that Patreon is deplatforming content creators that I like to listen to. So I have deleted my Patreon account. If there is another way of me supporting you, please contact me. You should have my email from my new subscription. But I'm sorry, I just can't support you via Patreon. All the best. Bye.
Well, that was Ruth from the US, and sorry to hear that you're not using Patreon anymore, Ruth, but no big deal. There are other ways to support my channel and this podcast channel as well as the audio version of the podcast. What you can do, and it's fairly simple, is go to the YouTube channel. And you'll see on the page, just under the title banner of the page, there's a join button. And if you do hit join, there's lots of different options, all the way from, I've got it in Australian dollars on my screen, but from $2.99 Australian down to a very high tier I've called Old and Bitey, $40 a month. Now, I don't have any members, YouTube members at that rate ranking. However, there's the choices there. And there's a whole bunch of perks that you get for each of the different levels, depending on what your budget is. So out of that membership, YouTube takes a cut of 30% for processing and what have you, and I get 70% of that revenue. Unlike Patreon, where I do have a Patreon account as well, they take 5% for processing fees, and I think I get 95% of the rest of it. So YouTube do take a little bit more, but that is a way of supporting the channel. That's the Gavin Weber Cheese channel. Another way to support the channel, and you can do this on most YouTube channels these days, and that is to do a super thanks, what's known as a super thanks. So if you go into a video, so you can do a super thanks. I'll just show, so just under the video itself, this So just under the video itself, you'll see a little button with a little heart and a $sign in it, and it says show support with super thanks. You don't have to be live to do this. You can do any time. I've never talked about this before on any channel. But yeah, if people want to support on a per video basis, then you can simply use super thanks to do that. And it's very simple. You press the thanks button and there's a little slider bar, and you can do all the way up to $500 Australian and all the way down to $2. And you can type a little message in there and buy and send. And yeah, that's another way to support the work that I do on YouTube and the podcast. So when I get to 1,000 subscribers on the podcast channel on YouTube, that we use the audio for the audio version. Once I get to 1,000, I should be able to do memberships and super thanks and all that sort of stuff on there, but it's going to take a while. So if you want to support me on the main YouTube channel. Anyway, thank you, Ruth, for that question. The next question, question number 4, I think is from Susie.
Hi, Gavin. This is Susie from the United States, and I have a cheese question. I am making some cheese today, and I'm in the cooking the curd stage, and I'm wondering if when I dilute the curd with warmer water or hot water, if after that I can still use that whey to make ricotta later, or if that whey at that point is too diluted and I should just drain it out and throw it away. I'd appreciate an answer. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Well, thanks, Susie, for that question. Yeah, very simple one. No, you can't use the washing water if you're making a washed curd cheese, like, say, Colby, for instance. You can't use that. It's too diluted. There's hardly any proteins in it whatsoever. You can use the whey that you dipped off initially, though, and depending on how big the batch was, depends on the yield of the ricotta that you're going to get. So yes, definitely you can use that first amount of whey you've dipped off, but don't use the subsequent washed, diluted water from when you're making a washed curd cheese. You won't get anything out of it. So, hope that helped. I know that was a very simple one, but yeah, great fun. Well, I must say it's great to get back onto the podcast. Nice and simple to make. I'm going to keep these under 30 minutes unless I do an interview with another cheesemaker, which we do quite a bit on the channel. Yeah, watch for that. It's always good fun, and I'm hoping now I've got it all set up and nice and easy that we can release the audio and video version of the Little Green Cheese podcast every single week. So thanks for watching and listening, Curd Nerds. You can find my cheese making video tutorials over on my channel. Just go and look for cheeseman.tv or search in YouTube for Gavin Weber. You can get your cheese making kits and supplies over at littlegreenworkshops.com.au. We ship internationally to most countries at reasonable shipping rates. You can also learn how to make cheese in a structured manner over at the Curd Nerd Academy. Just go to courses.littlegreenworkshops.com.au. I've got a beginner's cheese course and a blue cheese course, and we're currently working on a white mould cheese course. If you'd like a personalised message for me, you can book me via Cameo. So stay tuned for the next exciting episode of the Little Green Cheese podcast. During this episode, you heard royalty-free music by Kevin MacLeod. I played Malt Shop Bop and Call to the Dairy Cows. Until next time, thanks for watching and listening, Curd Nerds, and I'll see you next time.